This one doesn't.
I've never met a person that loved it. I never. I want the challenge.
Well, so
I didn't get her specifically until being a part of her.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Dinner.
Let them go.
She was the first girl I got. She was 5 or 6 years old. When I got her, she was 15 pounds and 8 years old. Because she was so old.
I'm just glad that he's right. Yeah.
Jeez.
Brian, this is June Logan over here on the left. My next door neighbor. We've met one.
Yes, you're familiar and you have your name with your face. That's what I was thinking. You get everyone's names to their faces.
It's always good.
Yes.
I know we went the ocean.
I'm coming home.
Yes. I keep doing it, but you find one for every two.
Oh, good, okay.
You've been introduced, lady.
Oh, you see her dog in the car?
No, but I can tell by her pants. Actually, I'm like,
Yes.
I was like picking dog and cat hairs off. We were like, here,
It's an extra. June is my next door neighbor, so she knows we are in
You're
my
involved
house.
bringing the milk right back.
Actually, I cannot take any credit for that. That was Donna
There was no problem.
and the reval.
Because even with the evaluation, everything seemed to be that's good.
Was your reval actually generally third go up, third go down, third go. So I'm glad you're in that segment.
I didn't say it's that.
Happy-ish.
Happy as that I could have been.
There you go, I'll take it.
There you go. Unless you go with the
Well, that's in their favor.
Yeah, I know.
Between, is my drawing here, between the campground and right up to now, the jet set is a big question. Area there. You think it's just elaborate with the beach of it.
That is
do you
nice.
live in town or do you live?
I actually live in Boston. I mean, that's what I wanted to.
Nobody has to.
Huh?
But for both of them.
Yeah, I would say so, especially if you.
Oh, my God.
Job on the campus and reval where it's from.
It's been interesting. It's been interesting.
There's always plenty of water up there the other night.
Throw in the deep end.
I know, I was worried, I was like, you're not gonna
It's very good at that job.
You could have gone too.
God
I thought, I would.
Oh, it's actually fun. I like that.
Learn the town,
The
learn
good
the
news
people,
is
Because over in Buckfield, I sort of done the work. So we are in just Russell Theater. So now I know what's coming.
Yes.
I was not, this is like the first reval I've been My 7 and 8 year people were calling me everywhere. Me too. Just saying.
Yeah, that's why I was like, no one's gonna take this job, they're gonna like, yeah.
Oh, very
We're
much.
gonna jump in here.
Oh, I was good serious question.
It was fun, I mean, it was.
Today, we have there.
Well, I can't know nothing about, oh, yeah.
Oh, the cemetery.
Five times with the I haven't even thought about doing this, like, I don't have the energy to go and look and try to do a comparison. Creative fair, that's hilarious. Oh, there you go, yeah, pages, so like I saw everything with that, and I was just, especially for me like this, it's just that.
I know what it is.
Yeah. Sales data.
Instead of often, you don't need it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Pandemic, and then people were buying, now it's always one of those, you know,
Just in our Some people take that trucks to this, rate that were proposed by
Right, well, actually, every time though.
yeah, you're doing that one-on-one, but
Well,
like,
that's-
I
you know,
thought that too.
most of it went on.
We
but
really
except
have-
nine.
So, we don't know if it's all for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
My argument was like, you know,
you know, when they do it, then they have to disrupt it when they have crossings.
that would have been nice, because that would be
That's part of the purpose of
yeah, and of course, there's no watching the ball. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, and then you
Okay, we'll start the meeting, we'll start with Sue, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Actions on the minutes for December 7th.
motion accept.
Second. Made and seconded, any discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Any adjustments, Mr. Mann?
I have nothing, sir.
Public comment? Yes, sir.
Scott, Brian O'Donnell, 248 King Street, Oxford here. I've got a couple of questions regarding the sewer connection, particularly the grant part of it. I've heard different things out there. I've been trying to put my application together and get estimates together on what it's going to take for us to do it at our property. And I keep getting kind of conflicting information or information that makes me take pause and say, maybe I better do it this way or do something different. We've got a situation where we have to go into a force main, so we need to get a pump lift station. When I originally went down to the sewer department to ask about that, they told me it was a 1 horsepower, 120 volt pump. And I said, is that what they're using this year? And wasn't quite sure, so I stopped at Superior Concrete, and they told me it's 2 horsepower, 240 volt. And that can make a difference with the electrical. It doesn't matter to me much because we have the capacity for that, but other people may not know that, may not be aware of it. And I kind of look at it and say, should there have been like a bid package put out by the town, what they really expected in application, in all the detail that would be in it. I had a neighbor that he submitted his application last week. He was told that it needed to be itemized. And I did see that in the application. However, itemization, it says materials, labor, and that kind of thing. And it was a bit confusing. Do you need the itemization for every fitting that's going to be used in the process? I'm a plumber, so if I look at it and I don't know what's in the ground, there's no plans in town hall, I'm trying to use, best performing practices on what I expect is in there. Whether that's what's in there or not, I don't know until they dig it up. So the next question would be, well, if it's different than what I estimated in the ground, the change order procedure I saw in here is basically submit your change order, it'll be reviewed, and then it'll either be accepted or not. Typically in construction, we don't necessarily do it that way. We'll submit the change order and the work stops at that point. This contractor wants to know, am I getting paid? And who am I getting paid by? And doesn't want to be out there hanging. And I was told, well, get turned around as quickly as we can. But, just this past Monday, we saw a situation where, like, my situation is, the force main is 7 feet deep in the road. I need to know that answer right away so I can backfill. If we have rains like we had this past week, that can create a lot of problems where everything starts collapsing in on itself then we have another change order for the site contract to dig it out again, those kinds of things. So it's just, it's more process questions, I guess, and what exactly is required for an applicant to submit with his application so that it's complete. And I had a neighbor the other day that he got a letter last week that his application was not complete, he needed to itemize certain items, and then it would be reviewed and they get back to him, but he had to submit that information by the 26th of December. And it's awful hard to get pricing anyhow today, to begin with. To do it in short, compressed time is even more difficult. And then he got a letter yesterday that his application was accepted. And it's, you know, how is this being processed? And who's reviewing the applications? And what exactly, like, on a bid application, it's something like this, where you have to submit to the town. With the things I'm hearing out there, I would think there might be a sample of what exactly is being looked for, you know, in a generic form, so that we would know, rather than kind of, you know, shooting in the dark and then have to redo it. There's some of these jobs, and what's actually been accepted, I mean, my house, we're gonna need to, it triggers other questions. For instance, we have the septic tank that is partially right adjacent to a walkway that's pavers. That way pavers walkway in the pipe coming out of the house. I don't know where it's coming out. So I may have to take out that entire walkway and then put it back in. Is that included in the grant process? Is the electrical included? I was told it might be, it might not. It's going to be under review, and then it will be determined whether it will be accepted or not. The plumbing, and how much itemization of plumbing do you actually need? Because it's kind of guesswork if you don't have plans, you know. Site work, trees, I have to take down some trees. If I have to collapse the tank, backfill it or remove it, can I just fill the tank with sand and vibrate it in so it's completely filled? You know, it triggers all those questions in my mind. Unfortunately, I've kind of been in the business, so
Right.
you know, it makes me think of these things, all the, you know, things that come up.
Sure, I'll try and hit on all the stuff that you just mentioned, so pick me up along the way if I skip something.
Sure.
So as far as the septic tanks being disabled, all that the town cares about to satisfy the ordinance is that it is disabled. So the code enforcement officer, if you have a special circumstance where it's either partially under your walkway or something like that, if you can show and discuss with Kingston that you filled it with sand or other, so it's disabled, I would think that would be acceptable.
Okay.
As far as the grant application goes, we have, I don't know, I think I had it in here, a copy of it. We tried to, when we put together the grant application, we tried to make it so that it was as comprehensive as possible, if you will.
Mhm.
You know, it's a 3-page document. It does have, for all applicants, I'm sure you've seen this 100 times, you know, it has a list of all the items that, you know, you're supposed to have
Right.
in there. And as far as itemized go, what we're looking for is, no, we don't need to know exactly what each fitting costs, but we certainly need to know that if you're saying that you're buying, you know, $1,000 worth of, you know, pipes and fittings,
Mhm.
okay, well, what are you buying? You know, we understand that the plumber's probably going to have some upcharge on that. We don't need wholesale prices.
Right, understood.
But what we need to make sure is there needs to be enough itemization there so that the town knows that we're not getting taken advantage of. You know, for instance, we received 2 applications for 2 different locations, and the amounts were exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, the quotes were exactly the same, identical, just the names were different, or the addresses were different.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying that's right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just saying that it bears the question, okay, how much science is going into this, if you will. So we just want to make sure there's enough detail that we're getting legitimate quotes and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
What we've been doing is, after we got started, there was a few hiccups getting the process moving, but what we've been doing is, it's the manager, myself, the finance director, the sewer superintendent, and then also the woman that does our sewer billing. The 4 of us are meeting on Tuesdays and reviewing the applications that come in. When we get those applications, we see if they're complete based on what we need. We give the finance director instructions on, okay, the committee, we all agree that, yep, the application's complete, we're gonna move forward with this, or we need follow-ups on, we need the W-9s or something like that from the contractor. She's the one drafting the letters and sending those out. And we
Now,
s-
is the W-9 requirement a requirement of the the grant process itself?
Yep.
A
Yeah,
lot of
we-
times in construction, you don't request that until someone's awarded a job, you know, that kind of thing.
So we went ahead and put that in there to begin with, so that it would save us on the other end. That was our thought process. So a lot of times we're already starting to see it happen with the few that we've processed, is that, I can't remember one of the contractors off the top of my head, doesn't matter. He's now been awarded a couple of these. So we already have his W-9 on file, you know, so we're fine
Right,
there.
right.
But so yeah, we put that on the list of things to be included, just to get that out of the way.
Yep, yep.
We are putting the burden on the applicant. You know, the applicant is responsible for ensuring all of these things happen and is submitting them with their application. Because one of the things we started to run into at first when we started doing this was the applicant and a contractor, you know, everybody's trying to communicate with us, which really wasn't working because the contractor can say what he wants, but
So
the
it's
applicant's
jointed at that.
right. Yeah. So we're trying to just funnel everything just through the applicant.
But
So
most of the applicants are the homeowners,
yes, yes.
so, and they're not necessarily experienced in coordinating the different trades to do the work, so. I
Right.
can see where that could become
I can see where.
kind of cumbersome for you guys, you know.
Yeah, so we're trying to keep it super simple. That's why we're trying not to. You know, there was discussion with the board about, you know, putting it out to bid. There was just all these different things, and the simplest, easiest process we came up with was to have a grant application, have the applicants submit as though you were going to get it done yourself as a homeowner. Have them submit everything. We ran into one where the price was just, it was very high.
Yeah, yeah.
And it caused some concern amongst all of us when we were looking at this. In fact, Xenia from the sewer department said, it just doesn't feel right. So we reached out to the town's engineer, and he gave it a review and recommended that instead of it being X, that it be Y, when based on his estimates of materials and labor.
Right.
So that one, for instance, we awarded it to the engineers, you know, to the engineers.
His price, yeah.
Right. So, again, that's not to, you know, not to talk ill of the contractors that were involved in that. It's just, again, we have to, you know, look out for the town.
Now, with the engineer is reviewing them and coming up with his own estimate, is there an appeal process if you think there's some extraordinary conditions that don't jive with what he says, or that kind of thing?
To say there's an appeal process makes it sound very official. I wouldn't say there's an appeal process, but at the same
A
time.
discussion?
A discussion is always welcome, yes.
Very good,
So,
okay.
it's just,
And I also heard that once the award is given, that you have 90 days to complete the work.
Mhm.
And it's kind of given me, you know, reason not to submit it just now, because I don't want to be doing it in the dead of winter, necessarily.
oh, why not?
Yeah. For obvious reasons. And one reason is you can't backfill, loam, seed, and stabilize it until you get to the spring. And so you have, plus it looks like hell, we all know that, you know.
Yep.
Is that set in stone that what, and if you don't do it 90 days, if you don't comply with that directive, do you have to reapply and then hope you get accepted again, or are you just done for the project, you can't reapply?
So what we were trying to accomplish with that 90 days is that what we didn't want to do is say award it to somebody, and then now we're 10 months into this and they're still sitting on their hands.
Mhm.
So if we didn't put some sort of time limit in there, and left it open-ended, then we were going to run into, we'd have all these active applications out there.
Mhm.
So what I've done with a couple of folks with the 90 days, and we, the little committee, we discussed it as well,
Right.
is that, okay, we cannot have this done in 90 days, but if we have 120 days, we can have it done by this date. So we agreed on the application that we would give them 120 days. If they could not complete it by the 120 days, they'd reach out and say, hey, we need an extension. So that way it keeps the avenues of communication open. It also puts the responsibility back on the applicant, so that they're having to communicate with us. Because we only have so much money, and we want to make sure that we can get our biggest bang for our buck and get these rolling. You mentioned another thing on the extension, time frames and then getting kicked back. I think it was. That's something you mentioned earlier about the one of the people you mentioned that 2 weeks or something like that?
Oh, right, that was and I haven't submitted yet, but one of my neighbors did. In the letter he got, said that he had to get itemization of the bills, and it had to be submitted by December 26th, I think it was, day after Christmas, or his application would be rejected.
Yep.
And then a week later, he got a letter saying his application was accepted. And I found that kind of confusing. And he had not talked to anybody or done anything with it because he was trying to get the electrician to go back and itemize all his fittings out because he was confused by it, everybody was, in that circle. And the electrician said, I'm not gonna do that, I don't have the time for that. I mean, these guys are busy, they're out working and they're making money every hour. Every hour they're playing with this, I'm not playing with it, but putting it together, they're losing other revenue,
So the one you mentioned, I wonder if that's one of the ones that we are having contractors dropping stuff off and not the applicant. So
no, that was a coordinated application.
It was coordinated?
Yeah.
So I don't know without looking at it what the story is behind that one specifically.
Right.
But again, the reason we're putting a time frame on that is so that if you submit
Well, I understand that.
So
You don't want it to drift, and
Right, yeah.
other people that could come in and get it done,
Right.
and then the money disappears and nobody gets it done. I understand that.
From our perspective, it's all about the communication. If you can't get the itemization done, for instance, or the requested stuff in 2 weeks, if you just, not you, but if the person calls and says, hey, I need another week or two to get this done, it's all fine. It's just we're trying to put dates in there so that we don't just have all this stuff pending.
No, I
That's
get
what
that.
we're trying to
I
do.
understand that.
Yep.
And what is the timeline where the process actually disappears and there's no more money in water? Yeah, originally I heard a year from the application. Is that true still, or is it not true?
It was 1 year from the start of the program. When we started the program in, somebody help me out here now, September?
Yeah.
So we'll have 1 year through, and then either we run out of money, or we get to the end, and then we have another conversation in this room about do we do more or not.
In my instance, we rent the house out. So if we rent the house out and it's being occupied during the summer, we'd prefer not to do it till, after Labor Day, because that's when the schools go back into place, and that kind of thing. Is that a sit-down discussion and say, we'd like to have 2 weeks more so that we don't have a total disruption on the property while we have guests, that kind of thing?
I think if we have communication and conversations, we're going to be able to work pretty much everything out. It's because even if the application is approved and we've settled on dates and so forth, and it's the money's encumbered, if you will, so it's sitting there and waiting.
Right, yep.
Then even if we end up going a little past when the program ends, I mean that makes sense to me. So.
Yeah, and I guess what actually would be are you looking to have covered by the grant program? Understanding that there's other dynamics, like I said, landscaping, taking trees down. Now, if I can fill the tank and have it signed off by Kingston, then I'm good with that. I can live with that. I'd rather not take up a walkway with paved that's been down for 20 years and, we're all weathered and would match the property, that kind of thing. And trees coming down, well, that happens, I get that. What is electrical covered? And I asked Beth this one day because some people may not have a service that's large enough to put this on, and they'd have to upgrade their service. It's not my situation, but would their service be covered under this? Or if they have to take trees down and hire an arborist because they're close to the road, in the right of way, that kind of thing? Or if it's in the right of way, is that something CMP would take the tree down? Those kinds of questions I trigger in my mind.
So the around the bush but easiest answer on that is it depends and within reason. So and why I say that is that what we want to avoid is, for instance, electrical. Okay, fine. You need to do upgrades to your panel. Well, that makes sense because you need to maybe add a circuit or what have you to deal with the pump station and that sort of stuff. But if you got to replace your entire panel and you're trying to encompass an entire electrical upgrade for your home, Well, that doesn't really jive. Right, great for the homeowner, but it doesn't really jive. So,
Yeah, I hear that.
so I mean, some of those, again, either would be a conversation with the contractor to say, okay, when we look at your electrical quote, it's $1,500. Well, $700 of that is specific to the project, and then the rest is not. So it's about, back to the communication piece.
So if I want to put in 7 EV stations, that's not going to fly, huh?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think you get where I'm.
I understand.
It's just like there was one that there was discussion about the plumbing, from in the basement, because where the septic was, the drain went, east, but where in order to get to the sewer, it had to go west. So there had to be some changes in that whole direction of that. Well, that's directly related to the project. It wasn't to upgrade the whole darn house. It was to get it to go out the right direction.
That I understand.
Yeah.
Do that work all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. If everything's pitched to the backyard, it's got to go to the front yard, or pumped to the front yard.
Right.
I get that. Okay, so the offshoot of it all is submit your application, and then we'll sit down and talk about it if there's any questions.
100%, yeah, and we're trying to, and now I feel like next week will be the exception. We are meeting every, the little committee, we're meeting every Tuesday.
Not meeting Monday, though.
Yeah, no Monday. But, we're meeting on Tuesdays to go through those, and then we're trying to make it so that there's a lot of movement here, so it stays very fluid. So even if the person, submits something, at the worst case scenario, it'll be the following Tuesday that it'll get looked at again. So
Now, if there's an agreement come where you say, okay, we'll accept this application based on the plumbing, the site work, but we don't have enough money in for the electrical and people drop out later, is there potential for reimbursement of the electrical at a later time, potentially? Or, as you get nearer to the end of the process?
I think what you're approved for is what you're approved for, at the time. The only time there might be a change to what you're approved for is like if somebody submits a change order. Obviously, if the homeowner decides to move forward without the change order being approved, it's a gamble on the homeowner's part on whether or not that'll be included or not. But, what's approved is what's approved.
And if somebody's just changed it over recently in the last couple of months, and that be right prior to this program, do they have the opportunity to come in and ask for reimbursement for what they just did tie into it, but they weren't part of the program because they came out a month after, the notices came out a month after they tied in? Do they have an opportunity to ask for reimbursement of their expenses and apply, retroactively, so to speak?
So I've been working under the direction of that it starts from the day that the program opened and moving forward. That's the premise I've been working under. I think the board would agree with that approach. So.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Barbara Schuster, 325 King. I just want to know, what is the quickest, easiest way to find out where I'm hooked up from the street to my house? Because they had it dug up for so long, I couldn't tell you. Do I go to the sewer department, the water and sewer, down at their office and ask, and they can tell me exactly where it is, or they could mark it so I could have somebody estimate it?
Yeah, Xenia should be able to help you with that.
Okay.
That's who we've been. So Xenia down at the sewer department, he's the superintendent down there, has been taking care of that process.
Okay, and it's a normal office there, I could walk in during business hours, or
Yep.
better to call?
I mean, if you walk in, I would probably call because there's only a couple guys down there.
Okay.
So they might be down out back or
Yeah.
something like that. But if you walk in, they're there. They just might
Okay.
not be right out front.
Would they mark it? Would they come by and mark it? They have all the information about where it came in from the street.
I think that's what they've been doing. Is they've been coming out and marking it, and or at
Okay.
least coming out and talking with the contractors.
And my
I
only
think.
other quick question is, how does it affect that beautiful wide sidewalk you guys put in up on King Street?
I don't know the answer to that.
You don't know, good, so you stumped the panel. So that would be a question, either I'd repair it if they had to dig that up, or they would, or we'll find out.
You would have to take a look at that.
My understanding is they stubbed it onto the property a certain distance within the right of way,
That would make sense, yeah.
and that it most likely would be on the house side of the sidewalk. I'm guessing that, but
My
I
assumption
think
would be
Zeke could
yes.
probably,
Yeah.
confirm that.
They should be able to give you, saying you should have the measurements to tie, to find out where.
Yeah,
Oh,
there should
okay.
be
That
some
makes
ties
sense.
to it so they know where it is.
Okay.
So,
Although, I did talk to one fellow that he had it done recently, and they told him it was over here, and it turned out the sewer was over here, and they dug over here and found out it was, because the plan was flipped. And I'm not sure if, you generally, you redline a plan if you can't do it the way it was designed. I don't know if any of that was done.
They do have,
I guess
they do have a
the
set of
answer, I don't
as-built,
know.
so, but again.
What's that,
that's-
Scott?
They do have a set of as-built, so that we know they're.
They do have
working
as-built, yeah.
So hopefully the engineers, and I'm not gonna say that they're gonna be 100%, but hopefully the engineers get.
Well, that's why they have erasers on pencils still, right?
And whiteout.
Yes,
Do we know if the new GIS has the sewer layer included?
I don't believe that it does, but it's something that Beth and I have been talking about.
Okay.
Because that would come in handy for sewer and all the culvert locations and all kinds of stuff, so.
Are other things being considered as part of the project outside of plumbing and excavation? Is electrical being considered as part of the process for people that need a pump lift station?
Yes, it has been being looked at, and so again.
And I understand within reason,
reason.
I get that, yeah, okay, all right.
It's like landscaping, or there was one that was submitted that was, I think, we met them halfway on the landscaping and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
Like our septic tank will never, no one's ever gonna develop that piece of the property. It's adjacent to a, two-lane driveway type deal, and it's not gonna be part of it, so if I could just fill that and abandon it, and Kingston says, yep, that looks good. Again, a discussion. That's it. Now, should I put that in the application, that that's what I would like to do?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, more detail the better. Okay.
I'll admit to you, through this process, there's been a few things that I've gone, I could have never daydreamed that scenario. I mean, it's just some of the things that have come through, so it's
Old
been.
houses.
Yeah, it's been a learning process on our end too, so.
Understood. Very good. I appreciate your time and
Good.
taking the time to go through this, and I understand the process much better, and if I have any questions, I'll stop now.
Sounds good.
And after I have my application, if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call.
We'll just send you a nasty letter now.
I'll send you a nasty one, nastier one back.
Sounds good.
Very good. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you.
The whole board. Thank you very much.
Thank
any
you.
other public comment?
And have a good, great Christmas, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Moving on to business items, 5.1, appoint Elizabeth Cohen to the budget committee.
So moved. Seconded.
Moving second, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Town office meeting room RFP. Mr. Ness.
Okay, so, as the board remembers, when we first purchased this building and moved in, our intention was to join these two rooms so we'd have one large meeting room. Working with the contractor that helped us with the front office and some of the back offices and so forth, frankly, great contractor, did great work for us, just doesn't have time to get to this piece. So, I know that I and the staff are getting anxious. I assume the board is getting anxious. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to actually put this piece of it out to bid. I put together a bid package in here. The dates within the bid package, please understand those are flexible because what I'd like to, I think where our heads are at is it's these two center walls. It's this small room on the side here that we would open all of this up. We'd leave the closets on the other side because we need a place to put chairs, and also we need to keep a room for the cable, the cable TV stuff, and also make it so that there's a doorway out there in the hallway near the bathroom, so that way this section of the building actually could be closed off. So you could have a meeting in here, but the rest of the office could be closed and locked. So in this bid package, it encompasses doing those things. It does not encompass redoing the whole ceiling. It's more of using a decorative, divider or something, save a little bit of money along. We don't need this to be like the Civic Center or something. And then as far as the flooring goes, a couple of contractors we've talked to, we've heard things from commercial grade flooring to commercial carpet to polished concrete, different options. So on the bid sheet, we put that we want a total price, lump sum price for commercial flooring or commercial carpeting, and then that means they can either give us one or the other price or both, so we have options. And we also asked for them to give us, to discuss with us a proposed date of completion. So if we have a contractor that says, oh, I could get this done March 1st, great. Or if we have everybody, or June, it would allow that discussion to happen. So why I'm bringing this to the board is I want to make sure our visions are the same for the end of this building, but also to make sure you guys are okay to put
If
this
you
up.
leave in that room,
I'm thinking this room will go. It's
gonna go, okay.
The ones over there would stay.
yeah,
So when this is all open, the board could be over here facing that direction, and we could have chairs all the way to that other
Good.
wall over there, because we get a great attendance. But it would make the room big enough to comfortably do the elections. It would make it so that, frankly, probably a special town meeting could be done in here if we needed to, or other. I don't think regular town meeting would fit in here, but.
I'd make a motion that we move forward with that second program.
Moving second. Any discussion? All in favor? Approved.
Thank you.
Abatements for Grover Run Drilling, excuse me, LLC. Wow.
Could you say that again, please?
Yes, abatement for Grover Gun Drilling. Wow. In the amount of $70,000 for $745.89.
You get a little explanation.
Yes. They never should have been charged. They were exempt
I
under
mean, that's
Betty.
kind of what I got here.
Yeah, they were exempt under Betty if the exemption form wasn't processed. So they were coded as taxable, they should have been coded as exempt.
Was it received here on time?
Yes, and it was sent to KRT. They were supposed to have it in by May 1st. They sent it to Donna by May 2nd. She granted it in a 1-day delay. It was sent to KRT on May 4th. When I reached out to KRT, they said they never received it, so I was able to forward the emails and say, yes, you did, you got it on May 4th, and they came back and said, you're absolutely right. You should have coded it as exempt, they are qualified, it should be abated.
Motion for the abatement.
Here, a second. You second that, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. Moving second, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And abatement number 5 for Oxford Advent Christian Church. I'm assuming this is a KRT error or.
They actually had been paying a small tax bill to church, because they felt like they could afford it and it was in the best interest of the town. But with the reval, with the rates so considerably different, they said, we actually need to get our records squared away with the town. Their records were not accurate. The way they were structured in the camera system, the assessing system, they were not accurate. They are now.
And so they are tax exempt?
Yes, and that was verified through an attorney, the town attorney. We had them just review it.
Okay.
So moved. Seconded.
Moving second, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And I'm bidding for Jekyll and Nye.
So as you'll note, this one, the assessing agent has reviewed and recommends the board deny this abatement application.
So moved. Seconded.
Moving second, any discussion?
Can you explain it, please?
The homeowner did not allow the KRT appraiser into her home. She also refused to allow me into her home. She sent pictures to KRT. They lowered her assessment to a fair condition even without seeing the home. She sent pictures to me they were squarely in the fair category. In the absence of any additional information, I said, there's nothing I can do with your assessment, and she still is refusing to allow me admittance to the home. There's just nothing I can do. But based on the pictures, it's fair.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Abatement number 6 for Juliet Horton. And the amount of $1.76.
Sorry, if nothing, not precise. One of the sheds was not measured correctly. I fixed the measurement, that's the abatement amount. I left the rest of her assessment intact.
So I didn't look at the paper and I didn't look at the
It isn't, but once it's there, you know, it's gotta be precise.
Negative. Move and second. Any discussion?
Sorry.
No. All in favor? Alright. Department head report. Unless somebody wants to discuss the transfer station, Ed's not gonna be here, so we'll move on to the recreation capital budget with Kayla.
All right. So Kayla is here to give us a rundown on all things recreation. Are you all set? Kayla, you want to come on up?
Hey everyone. Hi Kayla. Hi. You just have to speak up if you have any questions because I cannot hear. So I just want to start with summer rec. It was very successful. We had 100 kids total, 69 of them were residents, 31 were non-residents. We did have quite a few that popped in maybe a couple times a week or a couple weeks sporadically. But overall, we roughly had probably between 40 and 60 kids every week. We had some great counselors. We went on some really good trips. Parents were very, very happy. So they're already asking when we're going to open for next year. So hopefully that'll be coming up here soon. I do have some changes that I would like to have for summer rec this next summer. We offered a daily drop-in rate, and I'd like to eliminate that. We had some parents that kind of took advantage of that, and over time, that $30 here and there really does add up. So instead of a drop-in rate, we would do a part-time, which would be 2 days or less, and full-time would be 3 days or more. And I think that would really just help kind of eliminate any lost income there. We had a good turnout for a swimming lesson. People were very happy. I know we haven't had them for a little while. We actually had an instructor that we had quite a few years ago. Parents were very happy to have her back. So she brought in some good numbers for us. We did do quite a few field trips, as well as some activities at Pismo. That's one of the things that I would propose that we're going to change is maybe do some more events at Pismo. The perk to that is everyone can participate. When we go on field trips, we can't take the whole camp because of busing and safety. So when we do field trips, each of our counselors have a small group of kids. So if we take all of our kiddos, it's a much bigger group, and for me, it's just a safety thing. Let's see. What am I missing, Adam?
No, I mean, some other, I think that was the bulk of the changes we discussed to try and tweak it for next year. We did have some discussion about potentially adjusting the rates.
Yeah.
You know, maybe increasing the rate some for next year.
Yeah, so currently, residents pay $75 a week. If there's a second child, they get a 10% discount. I believe that came out to $67. So even just bumping them up to $100 a week, that's been something that we've thought about as well. The non-residents will stay at the $150, and again, they'd have that option to do a part-time or a full-time. I think that'll just give us a better idea of what we're gonna have coming in and going out.
So I read the entire proposal when it was sent to us. I would not recommend going up $25 or anything for the residents year 2. I think that running the program at the same registration rate for the residents makes sense to me because you're not going to have all the startup costs year 2 that you had this year, which made your profit less this year because you had all those first year expenses of buying equipment and materials. You're not gonna have to do that year 2. I'd like to see the program, what it comes out at the end of the second year by not increasing the rates for the kids, because you don't have those overhead costs. I'd like to see the comparison done that way.
Yeah, no, I
before.
definitely agree with that, and I think also by eliminating that daily drop-in rate and doing it part-time
Yeah.
or full-time will also really help for that situation as well. So,
I was gonna do the same thing.
Maria?
I was really impressed with the cost for us, the breakdown. I thought it was a big bang for the buck, and I'd keep it at 75. Something, I mean, ready for taxpayers to help and support this program, not to hit them a second time, so.
Would it be possible to get some stats on that, like total revenue, total costs,
Yeah, we can
profit?
communicate on that if you want.
But
And
yeah, if there were any scholarships, a few things.
yeah, can we hook up tomorrow or something?
Sure.
Follow.
Sure. Thanks.
Kayla had some other non-summer rec related stuff. If you're okay with letting her hit on that stuff, that'd be great.
yeah, so obviously we had great attendance for summer rec, but, we have been holding, have been holding a lot of different events, and attendance has been awesome. Baseball and softball, I think for T-ball alone, we had to split up into 3 different teams. We had baseball, we had 3 baseball teams, and I believe we had 2 softball teams. So we were very, very busy. There's a lot of kids participating, and some really great volunteers stepping up, coaching, helping out with fields. We were actually able to open the snack shack, which was huge. People loved having the snack shack, and I had some really awesome parents that helped me out with that, so I didn't have to work every single night at the shack. That was huge. That was very helpful. We've been holding ceramics classes with Rita. I've actually booked her out for the next 3 months. It's a very popular event. We currently have our little dribblers basketball team, and we had just shy of 40 kids sign up. And we were able to break up into 3 teams. We could have done, honestly, 4 or 5 teams if we had more coaches. We did a self-defense class, we did a wreath class, and we actually had to do a second one. We had over 50 people sign up for wreath class. We just recently did a trip to the Gardens of Glow. This Monday and Tuesday, we did our toy drive, and we gave out toys to about 153 kids or families for the kiddos. That was a huge success. We had some really great donations, and Toys for Tots gave us a big donation on Monday, which was great. We did a breakfast with Santa, which was awesome. There was a line out the door. So that was a lot of fun. We actually had some elementary kiddos that were very brave. They got up in front of everyone and sang some Christmas carols for us. Kiddos got to do pictures, make some ornaments. Great event along with our tree lighting. And again, the attendance with everything's been really high. So it's been really nice.
Yes.
I really would like to commend you because for a long time now, many years, a lot of us have been looking for a comprehensive recreation program like this to include everything you're doing.
Yeah.
And I attended one of the ceramic classes with my daughter and granddaughter. The room was packed, and it was really a fun night. It really was. I really think you have done a tremendous job.
It's
I
nice to
really
see the
do.
lights on all
It
the
is.
time when I drive by there.
So thank you.
It's very busy, and that actually leads in time to the next thing is our rentals are through the roof. This past week, we had 6 rentals. So the word's definitely getting out. You know, we're having classes almost every day of the week. Starting in January, we have some new programs coming up. So yeah, it's definitely been really busy, which is nice. The word's getting out there, and So hopefully we'll continue to grow. I know as far as the rentals, one thing I have, chatted with Adam about a little bit is potentially upping our rates just a little bit. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the rental rates, but right now it's $30 for the first hour, and then it's $10 for each additional.
I think
It is dirt cheap.
I think if
And
you
we
look at
are
the rentals
getting-
for some of the other places in other towns, you're probably half of what they charge.
Yeah, we
That's
are
very cheap.
extremely cheap, and that's what everyone says. So,
Yes.
I mean, we're getting people that aren't even from Oxford. They're coming from Auburn. They're coming from wherever they can. It's like, oh, we heard how cheap you are, which is great. I don't want to skyrocket our prices, but I don't think it's unrealistic to say, hey, we're going to start at a minimum of 50.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to help. That's paying our electricity. That's paying our heat. That is
And
through the
those,
roof every
like you
month.
said,
I'd do the $50 and $10 an hour.
What was that?
I'd do the $50 and $10 an hour instead of 30.
Right. I agree. I think that first hour should start at, 50, and then each additional could be the 10.
Also think you could do it different if they're coming from out of town.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, but.
Yeah.
you know.
So judging by the reaction of the board, would you be open to a new rate?
Yes.
Schedule coming forward to you? Okay.
Yes, please. But it's hard, always hard when somebody calls up, you don't ask them where they're from, right?
No, so people have done really well with using our online registrations.
Oh,
So whenever you sign up, I get their address, their, the date of the rent at the time, gives me all their information.
I
I
mean-
can look back at all of our rentals,
Oh, I
and I
can
can
see.
almost guarantee that most of the rentals we're getting are not even from Oxford.
Well, I mean, I think that's a fair assessment that, a resident would get one rate and somebody from out of town would pay more.
That would make sense.
That is another thing that has crossed my mind.
Well, let's cross it out.
50, 50 for residents, 75.
$50.
why don't you put together a
Yeah.
rate sheet? And also, I'd like to see a copy of the lease agreement that do they have to sign a lease agreement?
Yeah, so what I did is I took the old agreement and just turned it into an online form, so it, lets them know what they're responsible for, their cleanup, set up, all that.
Do you require them to take their garbage with them?
Yep,
Okay.
and believe it or not, everyone has done really well with that. I think I had one group that, honestly, I think they kind of forgot the trash can because it was an additional trash can. I think they forgot it was tucked away in the corner. For the most part, people have done really well. The only thing that really gets forgotten is the floors. But I can handle that.
Okay.
And just to comment, to go along with what Sharon said, I have been nothing but thrilled through this entire process working with Kayla. It's been great. I think you're doing a really wonderful job. I'm not getting complaints about the rec department. I'm getting nothing but compliments. It's been great. So I hope you guys are as happy as I am. And I tried to tell her before this meeting that I'm probably her biggest critic when it comes to going over some of this stuff. But I mean, you guys have all been really supportive, and it's been great. So.
Thank you.
It's nice to see all the little kids at Pismo too.
They're
I
fun.
laugh every time I
They're
see them
wild.
down there. They had you had the big inflatable thing at the end of the year. Oh my God, it looked like so much fun.
That was a good day.
Really
That
did.
was fun.
I know this year, it ended up costing the taxpayers a little bit of money to run the programs, but again, like I told the rest of the board in the email chain that Adam put out, was that, to me, that was probably the best 12 grand that we spent, in my opinion, so I'm very, very happy with that, so
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Especially the kids and the adults.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a quick question? Since she's doing such a great job, my fear would be she might be working harder. Does she need help, and should that be something the board considers giving her? Do you need help as far as like an assistant or a part-time person?
It's something that Adam and I have kind of talked about, but that's a hard one.
Yeah, Kayla and I have been talking about that a little bit just recently, and kind of seeing what might be needed, what might not be needed. Just what level of help would there be? The beach attendant position. It is being talked about, and I suspect you're going to see that come up in the budget process coming up on something.
We don't wanna lose her, so we wanna make sure we take good care of her, so she'll stay.
Unless you're volunteering.
I see her car there a lot, that's all I'm saying, so we just wanna make sure sticks around.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kayla.
Number 7, managers report.
All right, so just a few quick things. We have one remaining position open at the highway department. That is a part-time snowplow driver, seasonal. I mean, that's kind of a perpetual open position if we can get somebody. I think we've already hit the sewer loan program. I was actually going to give an update on that tonight anyway, but we've had a pretty good
Already got
discussion.
that.
Yep.
Thank you.
And then I wanted to remind folks of the town office holiday schedule. It is Monday and Tuesday the office will be closed, right, because the holidays are Sunday and Monday, because Christmas Eve is listed as a holiday. So it all shifts over one, so it's Monday, Tuesday. And then lastly, I also just wanted to mention, kind of give first a shout out to the Public Works and as well as the fire, EMS, and the police for this last storm. I mean, everybody really stepped up and worked well together, keeping the roads open as best we could. I also want to mention that we did have a crew member from the Public Works Department that actually got injured on Monday during the storm when they were out clearing debris. One of the poles broke off right where they were, and the gentleman got hit and by debris or what have you. And it was a life-threatening injury that he received, and he ended up having to go to the hospital. But I commend the gentleman that was working with him. He really stepped up. He got help on the way. He really helped his partner. He really took care of things. There was also a neighbor or some passerby that stopped to help the crew when they saw they were in trouble. I don't know who that person was. We've been trying to ask around who it was just to say thank you. But we can't figure out who that is. So to whomever that person is, thank you very much for stepping up.
What road was it on, do you remember?
Robinson Hill. So that's just everybody did really great in a really crappy situation. Our crew member, he's out of the hospital now. Hopefully he is on his way to a full recovery. But we're glad it worked out as good as it could. So that's what I have for you tonight.
Any selectmen items? Seeing none. Sign warrant 51, 52, 53, 54.
And then Wendy, is it both of these or just this? And copies of the abatements are in here for you folks to sign, because somebody at this table, might have been me, forgot to put the ones from last week in there.
There's all 76 ones in there.
Yeah, of course.
Did I sign
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did I?
Good night.
Have a good night.
Oh, well.
You didn't share that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It just looked like this one, the one.
Oh, Jackson's right.
Yeah.
Oh, and a quick side note, the Rabbit Valley Road had quite a bit of washouts on it. And the crew got a handle on about 6 or 7 of the big ones, and they're going back out tomorrow to try and finish up for leaving. Is this yours now, or is that Dana's? That's me.
Well, we're not used to working for you.
I'll send you a text in the morning when you book this connect.
Yeah,
Give me a few minutes.
that sounds good.
But you know, we're lucky.
Have a good night.
They just, Yeah, I did.
Well, I heard it fast.
Every week something else. Goes back. You should complain. Yeah, I don't think I have to tell you that. But I'm She's pretty good. She's really happy. That, quite easy to do. Chair.
Hmm? Oh, she is?
No, she's the vice chair.
Oh.
The chair likes to, she's a young girl, so she doesn't understand what her role is.
She's still working with, Suzanne's daughter? She's there,
She's pretty sharp.
She is.
All this stuff in my head
She's been around the business world quite a lot.
Hi?
She's been around the business world
Yeah.
quite a bit, 'cause she worked with her parents.
Yeah.
She's very, very thorough. I'm thorough too, but sometimes she drives me nuts because she's so
Too
thorough.
Yeah.
So, all of them are blue except for one.
She's daddy's girl.
That's all right.
Mr. Vice Chair, you're happy to address that.
Yeah.
Have to swap Sharon's hand. She's using black ink.
You can on the lawn, but.
Hey, I call it all.
Yeah, the other Sharon.
Just trying to keep it even, you know,
Those
across the
other
board.
people, I know, and I wasn't even thinking.
That was,
as I
that
was
was
talking.
getting after me.
Yeah.
Sign those over there, and I should have had blue. Don't pick on her.
Oh, oh, it's okay.
That's
okay.
it has to be.
It's okay to get after me, huh? Oh,
Great.
You're moving quickly.
Just can read it, let's do that. Sneaking right up here on this.
My daughter still doesn't, oh, we're still on camera. Otisville still has a lot of power outages.
I was talking to Joe Wax today, and he said he's not gonna get power until tomorrow night.
That's what they told my daughter in Otisville.
Some of those poles and lines are just
No.
obliterated.
Well, there was a tree right down the end of her driveway. In order for her husband to get through, he had to go cut it. And CMP hasn't done anything with it yet. The wires are still down and everything. Everything's turned off, but there's no power going to it. But when you only have a couple houses on the street, you're last.
Yep. Your high priority.
She's out there too.
We have a little heavy, just I forgot to bring this up there in the selectmen, but, there's gonna be a surplus in the state of about $267 million.
Thank you.
And, there's a proposal Mike signed on to take that money, instead of putting new programs or anything else, to turn it back to the towns on this because of the weather-related situation we just went through. So, telling you, Bethel, and I'm telling you, Fox, with the proposal, hopefully it'll go,
Yeah, we'll cross the fingers for that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion?
Make a motion when we sign 51, 52, 53, 54.
Second.
All in favor?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So.
Yeah.
Everybody have a Merry Christmas?
Hey, same you. Happy New Year.
See you next year.
Yeah,
It's true though.
it's very true.
Can't believe that.
Yeah.